So the Rambam in Hilchos Mazik, the Rambam says in Perek Aleph Halacha Yud Aleph, Adam is muad le'olam.
It shows like everybody say the Rav is starting from the last.
Bein mezid, bein er, bein yashin, bein shikr. So the Heilige Rambam, a person that damages when he is drunk, he's chayiv. Adam is muad le'olam. That's the Klal Gadol in Baba Kama. Interesting, the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Shinayin Ches, when he paskins this, also lo'azik mamin chaveiroi. It's forbidden to be damaging the mammon of your friend, vim hizik. So you have to pay nezik shalom. Bein shaya shaygeg, bein shaya oines. Interesting, the Rambam doesn't bring down the lashon of shikr. Lashon of shikr, I suppose, like we'll see in the Makairis in a moment, it's because shikr was obvious, because shikr might even be considered what's called a pesheya. And therefore, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't even feel the need to bring it because it's pashit. This is the psak of the Yam Shel Shleima. In Baba Kama Perek Gimel, not only does the Yam Shel Shleima say a person that's drunk is chayiv, the lashon of the Yam Shel Shleima, pshita shechayiv. A person that damages when he's drunk is pashit that he's chayiv. You don't even have to say it. This is the halacha. The Knesset HaGedolah brings it down on the Shulchan Aruch in Shinayin Ches. The Chavos Yair in Siman Kuf Samech Tes brings this down. Rebbe Kiva Eger also in Shinayin Ches in Reish Lamed Hey. And this is the psakim out of all the paiskim. Erech Shai in Chayshim Mishpat Shinayin Ches, Devin Shoyim, in the Pischei Chayshim, that's Rav Bloy in Ezekiel and Perek Aleph Halacha Yud. He's the encyclopedic work of our time on the Inyanim of Chayshim Mishpat. He says, Pasha, that a person is chayiv if he's drunk. How does that have to do with Purim? So let's see, Bez Hashem. But the Chavos Yair, and the Chavos Yair in Siman Kuf Samech Tes, in a very a monumentous tshuva, he says a story like this. The Chavos Yair brings, Chavos Yair is the Einikal, the Maral. And here you have this character who every once in a while he gets drunk. And kimat b'kol chaydish, derech hagav, before I begin, in the Beis Yosef, it brings down, in our simon over here, Tafsir Side Hey, Tafsir Side Vav, he says drinking is the worst aveira in the Torah. Because drinking is the aveira that brings lidei all the aveiras. It can bring lidei arayis, it can bring lidei ritzicha, it can bring lidei all the aveiras. It certainly brings lidei kas and v'chulei. Ad kedei kach that the Chasam Sofer, Mishabur already discusses how is it shaykh that we can have such a halacha that a person is chayiv inish levsumei adelo yada. Okay, so I guess the schus of the mitzvah if a person drinks and he does it l'shem shemayim. So the schus of the mitzvah is something that can protect him, but one can't lose sight that when he's chayiv to drink, he's chayiv to drink. That means every other time when he drinks, and chalila to get drunk. So then that's a shika zayvi agoy. When we were growing up, that's what they used to say, shika v'agoy. That hasn't changed, Rabbi Yisai. And therefore, it's very, very important to stress that there's a mitzvah to drink on Purim. Adaliyada, the Ramah, okay, but that's on Purim. This is the ancient time, and the halacha will not change. Adam is muad la'olam. Says the Chavos Yair in Kuf Samech Tes. HaReach HaRogel Kachsanoi. You have this character. He comes every once in a while to this kreichma, this inn. The Asi Lakitzin Kimat Bekol Chaydish once a month. He goes, he gets drunk, Nishtaker Chazal Lebeitcha. He comes home. Shachach Lechabes Ner Shaiva. What happened? He forgot to turn off his light, and this drunkard, he niach doilik nisraf. It burnt. He did damage because of his drunken stupor. Tisbo bidin al hazekcha. He tells the owner of this inn, you take him to a din taira. Spoke about that in the last time I spoke for the Aguda. I was zeicha to speak for the Aguda. You take him to a din taira. Ki yetzei chayiv, and you tell him that the Chavos Yair paskins that he's chayiv. L'shalem nezek b'li safek adam is muad la'olam. There is no shaila. There is no safek. Adam is like muad la'olam. Now comes again the shach in Shinayin Ches. He does say, we know that the halacha is a person that's an oines. There's two types of oines, says the shach. There's an oines which is an oines gomer. An oines gomer is perhaps a situation that we don't say adam muad la'olam. There's a big machlekes. Some hold that on an oines gomer you talk a potter, only on an oines of a nature where a person could have maybe been malal das, but an oines gomer. So on this comes again the shach, and he says, well, I hold that an oines gomer is chayiv anyways. B'shem the Rambam shita is that an oines gomer is chayiv. Okay, it's not so pashit. So no matter what, a drunkard is going to be chayiv because in worst state, what can he be? An oines gomer? An oines gomer might be chayiv. But comes again the Bach, and the Bach over here, Rabbi Yoel Serkis, who wrote a big tshuva about this Indian to his son, He calls him a Paishea Gomer. The Bach is not willing to accept the Rav of Krakow. The Bach was also the Rav in Brisk, and he was also the Rav in Belz. But the Bach was not willing to accept over here that a person that's drunk is chayiv because he's an oinus. He says, no, he's not an oinus. He's a paisheya, because who asked him to get bet and who asked him to put himself into the state, which we're going to have to come back to soon. Then what's the din of Purim? But Al Kapanim says the Bach, he's a paisheya gomer. And such a person, that's why he's chayiv, because who asked him to put himself into this matziv? Comes again the Yamshos Laima in Gimel and Baba Kama, and he says, Hashikar, afilu, if he got to the madrega of Shikar Kaloit. Shikar Kaloit is a madrega which the Paiskim say that if a person does things when he's Shikar Kaloit, he's a Shaita Gomer. He does things in such a state, he's a total Shikar. A regular Shikar, his Nadarim are Chal Rabbi Yisai. A person made a neder last year on Purim, and he said, this year I'm going to finish Shas. He called me up after Purim. I made a neder, he told me. I said, what do you mean made a neder? He said, I got up on a chair in front of everyone there, and I said, I want everyone to say amen. I swear that I'm going to finish Shas this year. I told him it's a very, very serious shayla. And everyone said amen. It was a neder al das rabim. It's pachat chodim, Rabbi Yisai. I don't know who could be mad to such a neder. You got to have a petach and a charata and a this and a that. And he's a Talmud Chacham who's maybe a barachi to be able to learn Shas. I don't know. He also said, finish Shas. He told me about, I think the number was about 1,000 blot left, and then he finishes Shas. No, 1,000 blot in a year. Okay, Chaim Kanievsky could do that in half a year. So okay, and they could do that actually in a third. Actually, you could do that probably in an afternoon. But upon him, the Maisa, a neder of a shikar is chal, but not a shikar kaloit. If a person is a shikar kaloit, he's a shaita l'kol adaver. Person that's a shikar, a regular shikar, his kedushin is kedushin. His kedushin is chal. He's not allowed to duchen, and he's not allowed. There's a whole shaila we'll see soon if he could be mitzaref to a minion. Okay, and certainly, and I'll reiterate this, and very important, a person that's drunk, even not shikar kaloit, the halach is borer for him to daven is aser gomer. His tefillah is te'eva. It's aser for him to daven according to all the poskim that ever lived and ever will live, because you can't stand in front of the melech. Now it's true if he's shasa, he just had like a cup, he feels it, as they say. So on Purim there is maybe a makom to be makel, especially if you can get a minion. It's not the proper anhaga though. Person should schedule his day. That's he makes sure, in Eretz Yisrael already, the mincha at 12:22, you could say Ashrei already, and then get your mincha. And okay, it's on Purim, you want to have a nice long mincha. So at 1:45, then you can drink the rest of the day, but you're never allowed to drink and drive, and you're never allowed to drink and daven. That's an Isser Gomer to drink and daven. I'm talking about Shemona Esrei. Legabe brachas. So the place can say it's not lechatchila, and Birchas Hamazon it's not lechatchila, but the minig is to be makel when a person is drunk, especially he's gonna, especially on Purim. If you have food in your stomach, there's no chazaka that it's going to remain there, and therefore the halacha is that berega that you're able to bench even if you're drunk. So we are makel that a person can bench, but that's all when he's a regular shikar. If he's a shikar kalait, he has a din of a shaita. The afal pi kain. Says the Rebbe, the Yamshel Shleimim, the Marshal, the uncle of the Ramah. Vashikar afilu igia yoiser. Even if he's a shikar kaloit, mikol makayim, he's chayiv b'tashlumim on every hezek that he does, even if he became a shikar kaloit. Why? Because the p'tur of oinus, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't have any shaykhs to him. He's a pasheya. And then the Yamshel Shleimim says unbelievable words. He says, Pshita the chayiv, Adam is muad la'ilam, bein shaygig, bein mezid, bein er, bein yashim, bein oinus, bein rotzin, im loy kain, loy shavkes chay. If you're not going to be mechayiv, now it sounds like in the Yamshel Shleimim that he's saying over here some kind of a tekana of the chachamim, that if you're going to say that a shikar is pater, then every person is going to get drunk and say, me, I did that, I said that, oh yeah, I can't believe I did that, I hurt that, I damaged that. Derech Hagav Rabbi Yisai, Malbim Pnei Chaver B'Rabim, is Ein L'Chelik L'Elam Haba, Kach Mavur in the Shulchan Aruch and Tavchav, and it doesn't say Bameh Dvarim Amurim Chutz Mi Purim. Even on Purim, if you're Malbim Pnei Chaver B'Rabim, if a person does Nois Dvarim, is a Vada Aveira, even when he's drunk. Also, I'll tell you a secret about Yisai. I don't know anybody that the next day after Purim said, wow, I gave away my bank account details, Gewalt. I said my credit card, I was giving out $100 bills. I don't know anybody like that. I know a lot of people the day after Purim that said things like, oi, I can't believe I said that. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. If I say a shikar is not a heter for you to hurt other people, to damage other people, chas v'shalom. There's no heter for you to hurt other people's feelings and to do any avera. Mishabura says, don't drink. who asked you to drink? There's a shaila in the Paiskim that maybe you could say that if he's drinking and he's going to miss out on mincha or something like that, which you shouldn't do. You should arrange your day in a way where there's no reason to miss a mincha. But maybe you could say that he's Isaac the mitzvah because Isaac in the mitzvah of chayav inish libsume and he'll do tashlumim. Okay, that's a shayla. Shabura Grada doesn't hold like that. The others do hold like that. But certain chalila, there's no din of Isaac the mitzvah allowed to do aveira chas for chalila. Certainly, there's no heter in the world to be mavayashi to hurt somebody's feelings. If you know that when you drink, all types of bad stuff comes out. It's supposed to libsume. It's supposed to be good stuff that comes out, not bad stuff that comes out. If you know that bad stuff comes out, there's no heter in the world for you to drink. You're an inus. What do you want? Person's an inus. He has only one arm. He can't wear tefillin. What do you want from the guy? He's an inus. Okay, but a person that drinks in the regular year, he's a vada chayiv. The kol son, he says the Yam Shlema. If you're not going to say this, every person that hates somebody else, he's going to get drunk. He's going to get drunk near his friend. And you know what the next thing he's going to do is he's going to say, oh, whoops, and he's going to hurt him, and he's going to damage him. There's no heter, says the Yam Shlema, to drink and to damage. And not only that, the Bach says also, but maybe he got to the madrega of a shikr keloit. I just said the Yam Shlema doesn't care about a shikr keloit. The Bach says a very important klal. Stam b'nei adam yoidim masha oisim b'shichrusan. So like the Bach, Rabbi Yoel, Sirkis, he writes to his son, Yengala, stam people know what they're doing when they're drunk, and they're not even nemam with a shvua to say, I was so drunk, I didn't even know what I was doing. It's a milsa de l'shchicha. So this is our hakdama. And the Bach writes over there, since I'm saying he's a pesheya, he's a pesheya gomer, so therefore, Yechayiv in Dalit Dvarim. Okay, Bushi and Achayiv, it's a different sugya, but Yechayiv in Dalit Dvarim. Yechayiv in Nezek and Tsar and Sheves and Ripo, Yechayiv in all Dalit Dvarim. It's not considered an oinus or something like that. The Erech Shai wants to say in Shinayin Ches not like this. He wants to say you're only Chayiv in a Pesheya Gomer is the only person. You have to be a Pesheya Gomer from Tchila Vatsoif, and this guy's not considered a Pesheya Gomer. He's a Tchilasai B'Pshia and he's Soif. But the Bach, which is the Pashtus of Poiskim, Bach holds that a person that damages when he's drunk, chayiv and dalet dvarim. So this is the akdama of the whole year. What's the din of a person that's drunk? He's no heter. He's chayiv and damages. And like the Chavis Yara says, take him to Beis Din and they'll give him what he deserves. Now, the sugya starts, what about, it sounds like a afikoyman over here, a gezela l'shem simcha. Is he allowed to steal l'shem simcha? Whose simcha is that, right? So this is the Shulchan Aruch that the Olam saw on Tafrei Tzadi Vav in Siv Ches. So it says in Shulchan Aruch, it's interesting, Derech Agav, Shulchan Aruch says here, Mutter Lisa Isha B'Purim, you're allowed to get married on Purim. That's how the Shulchan Aruch starts. We're going to be focusing on the Ramah. You should know Shlomo Zalman, our Rebbe Gadol, he got married on Purim. So they asked Shlomo Zalman, that's what he said during the Sheva Brachas, during the Drush at the Chasana. He said, I think also, they say it might have even been on a Friday, like the Olam has in America, if I'm not mistaken, that he got married on a Purim on a Friday. Okay, but it was on Purim. So Shlomo Zalman asked, how could you get married on Purim? Isn't there a din of ein marvim simcha b'simcha? Listen to the words of our Rebbe Shlomo Zalman. He said, Purim is not like a regular yontif. On Sukkot, you can't get married because you have to be freit. You have to not freit with the simcha of the yontif. You have to have a simcha with the yontif. Purim, the din is be happy in whatever makes you happy. If it makes you happy to drink, drink. If it makes you happy to give money to other people and make them happy, which is a normal, healthy person, give them money. If it makes you happy to, whatever makes you happy. It makes me happy to get married. Side by side, that's allowed. That's a mitzvah. Because on Purim, the din is do whatever you can to be happy. That's what you're supposed to do. Go and do whatever you can to be happy. So Akapanim, the Ramah goes on and he says like this. He says, but we find this interesting thing. We find Yeshayim Minig Bnei Adam Chaytvin Zebezer Derech Simcha. We find on Purim people come in. He takes a drink. Nine. Alcohol. Oh, wrong thing. On Purim they drink that also. He goes nine, and he takes this and he takes this and he walks in. So we find that people are stealing, and they're doing it as a party. He says Ein Bizeh Mishum Lo Sigzel. The Nagu Kain. It's the Minig. Says don't do things Shalaika Haygin or whatever. This is brought in the Halakha Ramah. The Ramah is quoting a Reb Tovia B'Shem the Riva brought in the Mari Mints. It's Kedai to see over there in this Mari Mints. It's unbelievable what was going on. They had a Zaporim. They had the mamas were dressed like the tatas, the bubbas like the zaydas. I don't know what was going on over there in Metz, but it was la Yehudim fragnished. It was a ganzer freilich gewöhnlich. Could be that's why there was no lo yilbash. Everyone talks over here that really Mishnah Berurah is not so happy that a man should dress up like a woman like a man. But over there, maybe it sounds like over there, every man just took his wife's clothing, and every woman took her husband's clothing. So maybe on that day of Purim, it wasn't the problem lo yilbash. Maybe that's the pshat. But Mishnah Berurah is not so happy about dressing up a man like a woman and like this, especially what's going on in the world today. Stay away, Rabbi Isai. Come to gain the Mar Mitz, and he says, Nimsa Kosiv, I found in the Rabbeinu Tovia of Riva called Michael. Listen closely to the words. Any food that you find that people steal, Mishum Simchas Purim, Afilu Loi B'Shus, from Mikra Megillah, from the time of Chris Megillah, until Seif Sudas Purim, Shem Beis Leilis, which means, let's say in America, Thursday night, the whole Friday, and till Shabbos, including Shabbos, Leil Shabbos, because the Suda continues. So he says, Ein boy gezel, don't take him to Beis Din al Kach, ubelvad that he shouldn't do things shalaika haigen. Now, what's the hesber in this, and how far do we take this? Rabbi, let's say the guy comes in, he takes one of your children and starts walking out. I mean, how far do you take this, Rabbi? He comes over. I remember a few years ago, someone asked me, like this. It's a group of Bachrim, they were collecting this, he took out a wad of 20 shekel bills. He was giving out to everybody that came in 20 shekel bills. The guy was dancing, Freilich, and he took the whole wad. The person planned on giving him 20 shekel, he took 400 shekel. Put that in American standards, it's usually around the same. He came in there, he had a wad of $20 bills, and this guy took all the $20 bills. He took $400 worth of $20 bills. So what's the halacha? Is that called Geneva? Sounds like Geneva to me. All you see over here in the Ramah is what they steal, Michael. That's what the makor of the Ramah is. But then you look in the Ramah, he says, Bnei Adam chaytfim derech simcha. They're stealing derech simcha. I don't know, is that also called derech simcha? I have to figure this out. What's the hezber? So the Darkei Moshe brings down, and the Bach brings down in Yeridea Kofpei Beis, where he discusses the Indian of Lo Yilbash, interestingly. He brings down Hefker based in Hefker. Chazal, in order that Purim should be able to go, they made like a Hefker based in Hefker. Others bring down, the Saris Pechuva brings down in Chelik Beis, Simon Lamed Ches, he brings down a different lamdis. He says there's a mechila. In other words, the first mahalach is going, is that it's a klalistic of Beis Din. The second mahalach is going that there's a mechila. Could be nafkaminas. Let's say the guy says, I'm not Michael. I don't, he's not into the Purim spirit. I'm not Michael. And maybe, but if there's a hefker based in, so maybe it's hefker based in, but if it's also mechila and he's saying mefirish, I'm not mechila. So come to gain the Aruch HaShulchan. And he says over here, today we don't have these things. Now he was writing this in a Vardik 140 years ago, and he writes, we don't have that same level of simcha, or maybe Petersburg. So we don't have that simcha, we don't have this. He says, therefore, when you damage, we'll see soon, he's talking about damage, and but it probably applies also to Gezel. This is what the Aruch HaShulchan says. I must tell you that not so posh. The Beis Yosef writes here, we're not noyig like this. We're not noyig like this. Now, you look, in the Mishnah Berurah, it sounds like the Mishnah Berurah is Mekel, because the Mishnah Berurah just brings the shla that says it's not a midas chasidis. This don't think you're a big tzaddik. Lav mishnahs chasidim v'shomer navsha yirchak mizeh. It's not the right on haga. That's for sure not. I think everyone understands it's not the right on haga. But it sounds like with the Mishnah Berurah that you are still going to be potter. If you do it, Lemaisa, you would be potter. You're not allowed maybe to do this lechatchila, to go in with the das that I'm going to go in there. But the guy has 40 drinks on the table, and he's asking for it, as they say. You come in there and you drink and whatever, and that's it. You walk into the kitchen. I don't think you should let anyone in your kitchen on Purim. But he walks into the kitchen and he takes. I had a few years ago. I remember there was a bacher. Purim was on a Friday. He went into the kitchen, and the vice does even like the food that was going on in the living room. He went into the kitchen. And there was the chicken there for Shabbos, and it was, but little did he know, it hadn't yet been cooked. And he went over to the tray, and he's, with a big bracha, shahakal b'dvar, and he ate, and it didn't seem to bother him that it was basar chai. It didn't seem to bother him that it might have been muksa on Shabbos. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take him to Beis Din. This is minig abachrim. Anybody that can eat raw chicken on Purim, don't take him to Beis Din. However, comes again the Maramins, and the Maramin says that's all when he does it without kavana. That's like the Marabins. But if he's doing it ligzol arviach, he's coming in there. There's a bacher somebody, lavdafka over here, we didn't see yet the word about being drunk. Over here, it sounds like they're just doing it because it's accepted on Purim. You run in, you take people's food, you take people's things, like that. We'll see in a minute. It probably doesn't mean you could take out his chair and his brake front. But anyways, even without that, you can't do things bekavana. Can't start doing things bedafka. This is my chance. I'll be able to. This is if you're doing it as a result of the simcha. Now, what are the times that you get this p'tur? So the Mishabur, like we just saw, Mishabur brings down that from Megillah, let's say in America, it'll be, I don't know how to down it this year. Maybe the item can help me in Purim Mishilish. It says from the Megillah until the end of the party. Dainu, in this year in America, it comes out simple. It's from Thursday night all the way till Friday night, including Friday night, if people are still freilich and whatever. So you'd have this heter. But in Eretz Yisrael, it's 3-day Yontif. Megillah is Friday, it's Thursday night, like you. And the party is on Sunday. And there's parties in between, different shitas and different chumras. But does that mean that for 3 straight days, somebody can walk into your house and take out a whiskey and just drink it and whatever? I don't know. Yesh ladim b'zeh. But not sure. Doesn't sound right. Now, I must tell you, if you look in the Paiskim, the Trumas Hadeshen, and the Paiskim that we quoted, Rebbe Kiva Eger, they say Dover Michael. I did see there's a say for the Mekadesh Yisrael, and Simon Reichit Ches, he seems to say Kol Dover. And like I mentioned, the Ramah is a little bit sussum over here, but I think it's muvan that everybody understands that the Dover Pash, if somebody walks into your house, now starts taking a chair and walking out, that Avada, you should take him to Beis Din. Well, first take back your chair, but certainly you can't say that he's pater. There's no shaila. The chayr is no shaila. Now, and I could take Kach, the Mishabur and Ziv Katan Lamed Aleph. He says, "Lefi this, they're allowed to make a bracha because since this is Hefker Beis Din Hefker and people are Michael, so they can walk into your house, take a bottle of wine, and start drinking." Okay, this is against your freilich, not Mishnah's Chassidus, who Rabbi say, and certainly not Bekavana. That's Legabe Gezel. Now in Siman Tavrei Sadi Hey in Sif Beis, that was Tavrei Sadi Vav. In Tavrei Sadi Hey in Sif Beis, there's a whole different halacha over here, also from the Trumas Hadeshen, and I'll read you the halacha. In Hizik, now we talk about damaging. In Hizik, now if you'll notice, Rabbi say, it doesn't say dafka because he's shikker in any of these halachas. It has nothing to do with because he's shikker. This has to do with the fact that there's a matziv going on, there's a freilichkeit going on, there's a simcha going on. And the Ramah says over here, if a person damages as a result of simcha purim, he's pater milashalim. What's this like? So the Ramah in Shinayin Chetz and Tziv Tes, he says, "Bachrim haroichben likras chasin v'kala v'ziku zeh." At a chasana, they used to have jousting. Rabbi say, you think there's problems today with the chasanas? They're getting out of hand. So in those days, they used to have jousting at the chasana, and the Bachrim would joust. And haroichben likras chasin v'kala hiziku zeh maman kavero, and they did it. They damaged somebody on the way and whatever. Derech simcha, hoyel v'nagu pater. Hoyel v'nagu, since there's a minig, it's pater. What's this? Excuse me. Minig is pater. The Knesset HaGedolah, he says, because the stama moichlim. If you're in that matziv, everybody's like, it's like last week, somebody was at a chas and he called me up in the middle of the dancing. His glasses fell off. Okay, and somebody broke them, obviously. If you're in that matziv, these are the things that happen. So the Knesset HaGedolah explains this as mitzad mechila. I wonder if it's even more, maybe it's mitzad oinus. So you're dancing and there's a matziv in Purim and somebody falls and he breaks a chair, he breaks something small and this and that. So it's all mitam simcha. Maybe like I said before, maybe there's an aspect of Hefker Beis Din. Aruch HaShulchan, like I told you before, he says nothing doing. Nothing doing. He says today we don't have this level of simcha, and therefore he says we're not on this matrega, and you do have to pay. I don't know. You could be mechalik between what goes on in certainly Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh and what goes on in Nevardik and Petersburg 140 years ago. So I don't know, but there seems to be from the Mishnah Berurah, the Steemus Mishnah Berurah, there is a heter today to damage. How far reaching is that? Obviously not the kavanah. How far reaching is that? So it's interesting. They bring a Mishnah in Sukkah on Daf Mem Hey. Rashi learns that it says, Miyati noikis shoimtin lulaveyem v'oichlem esrogeyem. Now, what is this? They used to take the estrog and the lulav of children, and Rashi says, oichlem esrogim shaltin oikis. They would grab the kids' esrogim, and they did it out starkei shalom. They had some type of weird minig that they would go and right after you know, at the end of Sukkot, they would grab each other's lulavs and they would take them and steal them and eat them and whatever. And interesting halacha. From here learns the Taisus Rabbeinu Peretz, which is brought, like I told you before, in the Ramah. Lalacha in Reish Ayin over there, sorry, in Shin Ayin Ches, Yesh Lilmod Mikan to the Balkrim that they joust and they rip their friend's beged or mekalko, that they're potter because they're noyig machmas simchas chasin. That's what he says. And this is l'chayra. Negaya also, look, you're on a basketball court and you break somebody else's glasses. Look, if that's, you came in Al Das Kain, these things happen. But you must remember, it comes again the Trumas Hadeshen, and the Trumas Hadeshen says very important words. Everybody say, he comes over here and he says, he brings the name of the Din Torah. Interesting, because the Trumas Hadeshen made up his shilas. You have to know if this one he made up. I don't know if he has names over here. Balafanai, Rabbi Eliezer, Bar Shalom, and Ragershin Bar Shalom. He brings the names. Vitzak, Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer screamed about his brother, Rabbi Gershim, that he banged into him while they were dancing at Oshanis, and he was makavin to be mazik him. He says, because he hates me, and he did it on purpose. And he broke my shoulder. He says he broke his shoulder, and I had to go to doctors. Rabbeinu Gershom answered, I was doing like everybody else. I was just dancing. No, I wasn't doing it like everybody else. If I did it, it was without kavana. And he said there wasn't enough edis, the Trumas Hadeshen says. And he goes on, he says, De'im loy kiven lazikai. If he wasn't mekavin, so then he is potter, because it happened b'shas a simcha of dancing and a mitzvah, the kachnagu. This is brought in the Magen Avram in Tafri Sadi Yasiv Zayin. He's medayik from the Aguda and from the Trumas Hadeshen that if you do it b'kavana, no way. Then avad it's aser. And the Mishabura brings it down into Yivkat and Yudalid in Kivin Lahazik Chayiv, and so brings down the Levush and the Be'er Heitiv, and of course the Aruch HaShulchan anyways holds like that. And this is the psak. Now I must tell you, there's something big pella to me in the Aruch HaShulchan. The Aruch HaShulchan writes over here that if you damage b'kavana, no heter. Then he writes, if you damage a bodily damage, you hurt somebody, bodily, physical damage, not just monetarily. So then he says that is also no heter. Now this is a pella. You all just saw the Trumas Hadeshen is first not like this. Trumas Hadeshen was talking about where somebody broke his shoulder, and this is the psak of the Bach in Siman Samach Beis. The Bach says, Bain bin Mamin and Bain in his guf. Now, is this like running on Erev Shabbos? I'm not convinced, because over here, when you're running on Erev Shabbos, you have to know that there's an aspect of, it's true, the Rosh Be'emes does zushtel to Erev Shabbos. But here you have to know that we have a little bit stronger even, because here you might have the aspect of a Hefker Beis Din. On Erev Shabbos, you only have the aspect of that, you know, it's a zman that ala nizik laharchikis atzmai. And therefore, there are a lot of cases where it doesn't apply. Erev Shabbos running, you know, today, I don't know how simple it is that heter. We'll have to talk maybe a different time. But Al Kapanim on Purim, and everyone's noying and people are dancing and somebody breaks an arm and this and that, he breaks a finger. So then you have to know that if it happened in the matzav and the spirit of the simcha, there is a heter. However, the Bach in that tshuva there says like this. He says, Kol zeh is where it's a hezek cotton, small hezek. Bein mamin, bein guf, like a chavala, you got a cut, etc. He says, but you blinded the person, stimas ayin chaveroi, or you cut off a finger, you got a finger cut off. That no way. If all the Indian over here is Hefker Beis Din, the whole Indian over here is people are moichel. Nobody's moichel on that, Chazal say. Pshita, no din, no dayin, he's chayiv, and aim is a minik klal. Okay, and this says the Yam Shloimeh, like we said before, is even if he's shikar kaloit. If he's shikar kaloit, feel a bit Purim, the mechuyev l'shtaker. First of all, says the Yam Shloimeh that you're mechuyev to get drunk on Purim. But ain't kavanas Rabbi Seinu. The Rabbi Seinu didn't have kavana that he should become a shaita and he should become like light. Nobody expected this. Nobody wanted this, that he should become like a shikar like light. L'chayra. Thus is l'chayra by say the basic rules. Thus the basic rules of damaging mitzad the simcha. So it's interesting. I'm being asked here, what's shot in the Gemara of Rabbah and Reb Zera? What's shot in the Gemara of Rabbah and Reb Zera? Rabbah, you know, everyone knows Rabbah got up and he shechted Reb Zera. No. So if you ask me the shayla, I'll tell you what I would answer, right? There's a girsa on the side that the Mefarshim bring down that it wasn't really Rabbah. The Rabbah didn't, because it's Takapella. I talk that Rabbah went and killed somebody. It's mamish a big pliya. Rabbah killed Reb Zera. It's a Pella in his gov, and he had to go and bring him back from the dead. And well, a Pella Gedola. So I tell you, there's a gears on the side that says not Rabbah, it's Rava. Right? Okay. So now I know what you people, I know my friends over there, they're going to ask me, okay, So Rava killed. I mean, your first kasha is gone though. Rabbi didn't kill Reb Zera. So now you're going to say to me, okay, but how could Rava kill Reb Zera? That's already a different shaila. I answered the first shaila, and now I'll leave you to answer the other shaila. Rav Shlomo Zalman has an answer. Rav Shlomo Zalman comes along, and he says it means that maybe he said something which was embarrassing because it can't be killed him. Okay, but that's already also a big nishpashit. I must read you, Rabbi said, what I saw over here in the Shevet Kahasi. The Shevet Kahasi, he brings down that which we say, the Shevet Kahasi is the Belzer dying in Eretz Yisrael. He brings down that which we say that if you damage on Purim and everything, he says you should know that's only if both people are being mishtatif in the simcha. You know, you're there, you're partying, they're partying, they come into your house and they're partying in the matziv and someone gets damaged or someone takes food like we said before. Not he goes and, well, what happens? He goes and he smashes a ganze break front, which was a Ma'aseh Shaya a few years ago in Eretz Yisrael. Somebody takes somebody and smashed them into a break front. I told them they're chayiv 100% to pay. That's a vada hezek gadol. Nobody's moichel on such a thing. That's a vada hezek gadol, and that's inexcusable. If the case also was, I think it was bikavana, and that's inexcusable. But he brings down a very interesting thing. He brings that the whole nidin is if they're both partying together. He says, but what if you're making loud noise, damaging, which is of course, and there you're keeping people up in the middle of the night and you're screaming. You can't say drunk, potter, avadana. It's only things that are happening as a part of the shtatzvis of the simcha together. If you're having simcha on somebody else's cheshbon, he says, and they're trying to sleep, there's no heter for such a thing. And like I mentioned before, there's no heter in the world to be mevayish a chaver. Don't think drinking is a p'tor. That Rosh Hashanah I mentioned before is in the Shalmei Moed. He says, it's not kavana kepshutai yitachin sheira shehil bin panavu bishai, which is an avak ritzicha. That means the Gemara considers it to be murder. Okay, it's an amoira, and maybe the Gemara is just teaching us a lesson. The Torah in Tavchav Hey brings down there's a tshuva to a goyin al echad that got up and killed somebody on Purim when he was drunk, and they had a whole nidin over there in this Ritzeach, and he writes these words: Ata Rabboisai al titnu yad lapoishin. Don't give the hands to the poishin. It's called ish tzayir kimizhala hayarizikim that he can kill. V'yoyim shaygig. Don't let him say shaygig. Bring him to Beis Din and give him his due punishment, what he deserves. You should know on Purim. Stam. Once we're talking about simcha. So there's halacha in Orach Chaim and Tavkov Samech. That it says in Siv Beis that whenever for the Zeichel Churban you have to leave over something for of a Suda, not to make a Suda out of Seif. Always leave over something, right? So I saw that there Yalkut Yosef from Avaji says, but not on Purim. On Purim, you could have a Zas Suda and you can have everything in the Suda. And that's why you're also allowed to have music, even if you hold that you're not allowed to listen to music. But there's one interesting thing. It says, Asal Adam Yimali Schoik Piv Boilam Hazeh. You're not supposed to be, you're not allowed to have a laughter, laughter. So the Taz says, Afilu besimcha k'moichasena upurim lo yimale piv schoik. Not to be out of control. Now, in the Chayadam and the Mishabura Paskins like this, Afilu besimcha shal mitzvah, like at a chasena, lo yimale piv. That you're not supposed to be out of control in your laughter, in your simcha. It's a big shaila, like I mentioned before. Certainly, a drunk is not allowed to daven Shmoneh Esrei. I mentioned before, there's a whole shaila in the Mishabura seems told he can't be mitzaref to a minyan, even though there's a lot of piercing. But Mishabura seems told he can't be mitzaref to a minyan. It seems like Zeman. It seems like there is a makom to be makel that he is yes mitzaref to a Zeman. The Mishabura says maybe he's mitzaref to a Zeman of 3. When it comes to a Zeman, with Gabe, like I mentioned before, making brachas, it does seem to be that you are allowed to make brachas on Purim when you're drunk, and it's certainly not the most lechatchila, but but then the birchas hamazon, you're going to lose the birchas hamazon if you don't make the birchas hamazon. You're going to wait 72 minutes. All the food might be gone, and everything else might be gone. So therefore, it could be that you're allowed to. That's part one. That's part one of what I want to tell my friends. Now, Mitzvah Hashem, we'll go to the next part. That's Hashem. What do I mean, the next part? So now we have, excuse me. Now we have some Purim Mishulish interesting shilas that I want to talk to the Olam about, and then some Matanis Levyanim interesting shilas that I want to talk to the Olam about. And Bez Hashem, let's see what time allows in the next few minutes, what we can get through Bez Hashem over here. So first of all, I think the most important shaila on everybody's mind in Purim Mishalish, if I'm not mistaken, is when do we dress up? That's for sure by everyone. Maybe it's not the most important. I guess the most important is when is the day that's mesugal that our tefillah should be answered in Purim Mishalish. Now, by side, this is Negeyu in America also. Now, I don't know if it's Negeya because of what I spoke about a couple of weeks ago by the Oilam. When I spoke to the Oilam, I told them this is Shiloh in Manhattan. Maybe Manhattan is considered also an Irmuk of Chayma because it's surrounded by the water. It's surrounded, you got the Hudson on one side and you got, the whole matzav over there. So maybe that's considered a Muk of Chayma and you guys have a Purim Mishalish also, right? I'm sure the Rabbi Gottesman is dealing with that already but you better know the answer. I mean, we know that Rav Moshe Feinstein lived in New York and he didn't keep a 3-day yontif, but maybe we should be machmir. But it's negay you also to know what day to daven. What's the day that
because of the Rav, I decided to leave. Because of the Rav, I decided to leave.
Are answered on that day of Purim. What's that day? Very negaya for you guys to know in America because the tefillas travel, like Chazal tell us, derech Eretz Yisrael, derech Yerushalayim, derech the Kaisel, derech the Shar Shamayim. So you also want to know, even in Chutz La'aretz, what's the day that the tefillas are most mesugal to be answered? These are our major days. Tainus Esther, which is a Ba'aleinu. The Mishabura brings down that what's the whole lumdus of Tainus Esther? Is that a Yid knows, it's not a sad fast day. It's a Yid knows when a Yid davens, Hashem answers. When he does tshuva and tefillah through the tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers. So that you're coming up to days which are the most mesugal, ba'ahava. I felt to give vain, if we would have known last year what was going to go on this year. Oh, how much we would have davened on that Purim. We wouldn't have squandered the opportunity. But this year we know and daven azayves medav zayin taker to change the matzav that we're in. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu after Azayot dry tongue, he gave us 3 days yontif, 3 days of a Purim because he knows that we're not going to waste this opportunity. So what are the days that your tefillahs are mesugal to be answered? And of course, second most important, when he's supposed to be dressing up on Purim Mishalish. Now, this is totally in the lumdus of Purim Mishalish. So first of all, Lamaisa, what day is Mikra Megillah? So you all know already. You heard a shir from the big Geis Talmidei Chacham discussed this already. Purim, the Mikra Megillah in Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, is Friday. Just like everybody else, we're all together for a kimu v'kiblu for the first time in who knows how long, Rabbi, 13 years. We're all together in that moridika kimu v'kiblu. Umemela, the matanas l'v'yonim, daf nibbegebin on the zelbetag because the aniyim daf the geld. They need to get the geld. And when they hear the Megillah, they know they're getting money. So b'zai, Mikra Megillah, matanas l'v'yonim, Friday. Kedusha of the yoim, ala nisim, Shabbos. That's the Kedusha of the Yom. That's why it's also Vayav Amalek. The day of the actual day is Tezvav. Tezayin, that's the Simcha. Okay, because, the Yid in Yerushalayim need another day. Okay, Shlach Manis is on that day also. Now, Oibazoi, let's clear. What's the reason why our tefillahs are answered on Purim Mishalish? Why is it that it has that incredible skula? So, Pashtus you could learn is because what's the lumdus of, what's the tachas of Matanas Lev Yoinim? To make everybody happy, to make the aniyim happy. And it makes me happy to make other people happy. So, hey, Leiv, like the Rambam says, a person can't have emistik simcha if somebody else he knows is not having simcha. What the Panovich HaRav say when the children, they put into the reshus, into the jurisdiction of the Panovich HaRav, the children that came from Yaldei Tehran after the Holocaust, their parents had been murdered by the Rishoyim in Gehenim, and the Panovich HaRav had 40 children. He has no beds, he has no blankets, what's he supposed to do? So he said to the Oilam Friday night, he's speaking in the shul, wasn't the derech of the Panovich HaRav. The guy in Bnei Brak came. Panovich HaRav fek the kasha, fek the Panovich HaRav. What's going on over here in the pasuk? I think it was Parshas Mishpatim. He said, we know that the Allah of the Gemara Kedushin says, I think on Daf Chaf and Daf Yates over there, the Gemara says, when you have an Eved and you have one pillow, Daf Menibber giving the pillow to the Eved. The Eved gets the pillow. We know there's a Gemara, but Metzia Daf Samach Beis, it says that Chayecha Koidmin, you come first. So what's this all about? Toiv Imach. And over there, the Gemara darshans from the word Imach. So what's Imach? What's Imach? Does Imach mean that the Chayecha are Koidim, your life is first? The Chayechecha Imach, your life is first. But over there it says, no, the Lashon of the Gemara is Imach, he's with you. Your Eved is with you. If you have a pillow, you have to give the pillow to the Eved. Everybody knows the Gemara. So I said, what's the pshat? What do you mean I have to give the Eved the pillow? I don't have to give him my drink of water because I come first. So why over there imach means that me and him were equal. And if I have one pillow, if I care, I'm not equal, I have to give him the pillow. Dr. Panovich HaRav, no. Avada chayecha koidim. He told the Olam there, Avada chayecha koidim. And Avada, you come first. And I say, if you come first, so then Pashit, if there's only one bottle of water, you have to drink the bottle of water for yourself because chayecha koidim. He says, but got a big problem over here. You have this Eved, poor guy, he stole, he got into a little bit of trouble. What's going to happen? You tell him, listen, I don't have another pillow. I'm sorry. It's a sham. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to get you a pillow. Don't worry. And I want to take care of you. There's no shiloh. He says, I understand. That night, he's not going to be able to sleep. He's thinking about his family. He misses his family and he misses his matziv. Why did I do this? I made a mistake. I shouldn't have stolen. So the whole night, he's going to be awake crying. The poor guy, the whole entire night, he's going to be awake. What happens? You have these thin walls over there in Yerushalayim, So I'm going to hear the guy crying, oh, he misses his family and this and that and whatever. So now I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm not going to be able to sleep. It's like the Panovich HaRav. So give him your pillow, not for him, so that you could sleep. How could you sleep if there's another yid that's suffering? Give him your pillow. Why? For imach, for yourself, because how could you sleep if you know that he's suffering? Told Panovich HaRav, told them their families were left in Gehenim, they're Yisayim, they don't have mamas, they don't have kintatas. So we know for sure, and they don't have pillows. So we know one thing, they're not going to be able to sleep. So what's going to happen? The whole night they're going to be crying. You're not going to be able to sleep either. So at least somebody should sleep. Give them their pillow. The Panovich HaRav after Shabbos, he had more pillows than in Macy's Fragnished. So what do you see from over here? That's what a yid is. I can't have simcha if there's somebody else who's stuck. But the problem is, that's nice for you. That's nice for you that you're able to now sit at your Purim Suda and you're happy because he has food and therefore he'll be able to eat and he'll have money. The only problem is you didn't maintain the dignity of the ani. And the ani had to come around and he had to collect when everybody was having a good time. So that's one of the reasons the Mefarshim say we dress up to maintain the dignity of the ani. That's the reason why we dress up. If that's the reason we dress up, so then what's the day that we're supposed to dress up in Yerushalayim? Friday, because that's the day of Matanas Lev Yainim. And that's the day that we need to maintain the dignity of the ani. Okay, let's go weiter. Others say the reason that we dress up is why? Simcha. You have to explain. You ask a child why. Mefarshim say it's all part of the simcha, like Rosh Hashanah told us, do whatever it is that make you happy. What day should we dress up? What's the day of the simcha Yerushalayim Mir Kodesh? Sunday. So you got to be machmer abayisai in 2 days, but not Shabbos. Because comes again to leket yoisher tamid the trumas adeshen, and he says dressing up on Shabbos is going to be riddled with all types of problems, with makeup and ksharim. I don't know, the costumes today you'll probably be over on Bishul and Boyer and Teuchen also. So you got to dress up. Rabbi say chumras. You got to dress up on Friday in Yerushalayim. You got to dress up on Sunday. What about davening? So what's the reason why the Heilig Abba Shefer listens to our tefillas on Purim? Some say because just like we do kol ha'poishid yad noisin loy, we give when you're asking for money, we give. That's it. Whoever comes to me, we give. That's it. So Bezai Kosh Baruch says, "Mida connected mida kol ha'poishid yad noisin loy." I don't ask questions. Whoever is asking for geld, I'll give him the geld. So Kosh Baruch says, "Whoever is asking me, I give him." What day is that? What day that means is the most mesugal for our tefillas? Friday, because Friday is the day that we're doing Paishit Yad. Nice. So Hashem says, okay. So then you guys are of Yoinim and call up Paishit Yad. Whoever asks for anything, I'm going to give it. Others say the reason why Kodesh Baruch Hu, and this is mashma a little bit in the Mekubalim, what's the reason why Kodesh Baruch Hu lets him start tefillas on Purim? Because of the etzim kedusha of that day. That day is the most mesugal for siyata d'shmaya of a Jew. You see what happened in Shushan, you see what happened in the ganze Welt. So that's a day which is mesugal for siyata d'shmaya. That's totally in the kedusha sayoim. That's tesvav. Even though it's on Shabbos, but it's a davar avid. It's probably better to ask for ruchniistic things on Shabbos. Okay. But others say, you know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to our tefillas? He wants you to be happy. It's all part of the same plan, Rabbi Isai. He just wants you to be happy. So if a person knows that I'm going to come today and I'm going to ask for a bracha from the Heilig Abba Shefer and I'm going to be answered, whoa, what a simcha it's going to bring him. So Memela, you have to be machmir, Rabbi Isai. Thursday's Tainus Esther, and Friday and Shabbos and Sunday, you got to be machmir. Try to finish the Hilchos, try to ask the Heilig Abba Shefer for everything. Thank the Heilig Abba Shefer if you're alive and you're healthy. Thank the Heilige Bashefer. The Shechiyanu that you have to say this year, you have to have Kavan in Yerushalayim for all 3 days, Rabbi Isai. There's Pashat as Shechiyanu, as Shechiyanu. So that's Rabbi Isai, a little bit of what like we spoke about, the hikr of what's going on in the Purim HaMashulish. Let's finish up here with some of the chumras of Purim HaMashulish, which I understand that the Grace of Talmud Chacham spoke to you about Purim HaMashulish. I'm understanding that maybe he didn't speak about. And it's interesting. There's a Chazain Ish that says Friday this year in Yerushalayim, you have to also give Mishloach Manos. Now the Chazain Ish says, why do you have to give Mishloach Manos? He says, because I read the pasuk says, Mishloach Manos u'matanois le'Ha'Hivyonim. So how could you give just the matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim? You didn't give the Mishloach Manos like a. So I thought to myself, the Chazain Ish is darshaning like a hekesh, like is there a shava, a hekesh in psukim? It's interesting hekesh. We know the reason why Mishloach Manos is because for the Suda or to make people happy. Either way, that should be on Sunday. What does it have to do with giving out on? Chazain Ish has a hekesh. Mishloach Manos, matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim. Adav zayin zusammen. The truth is, the Knesset HaGedolah already preempted this Chazain Ish, and he says, and Tafri said, yeah. V'lamar, listen to the words of the Chazain Ish. He says, "B'lav hachi, you're not mechalik matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim, Mishloach Manos, ein mechalkim. But I want to tell you what the Pir Yoin, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says, and with this you'll understand the amkus of the Heilige Chazain Ish. Oh, Rabbi Isai, Dr. Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, I'll repeat what we spoke about before. Rabbi Isai, there's a big pella. In Tov Reish Sadi Dalid or Zakasha. In Tov Reish Sadi Dalid, the halachas of matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim. In Tov Reish Sadi Eya, the halachas of Mishloach Manos. Why is matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim? Do you have a? Of course, it's first. Why is it first? The Torah says because matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim is more important than Mishloach Manos. All the people that's spending a zefil geld on Mishloach Manos, go write an "I love you" card to the person, to the Rebbe, to the parent, to the this. They don't need your chametz, Rabbi Isai, and give the money to tzedakah, give the money to matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim. Okay, but akapanim, what's more important? There's no shaila. Matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim is more important. No shaila, and that's why in Shulchan Aruch Tafrich Tzadi Daled is first, and then afterward is Mishloach Manos. Okay. Frek the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Pir Yoin says, that's very nice. That's very nice. Shulchan Aruch got it right. But Mordechai and Esther didn't get it right. What do you mean they didn't get it right? In the pasuk, Mordechai and Esther said what? Mishloach Manos u'matanois le'Ha'Hivyonim. They said first Mishloach Manos. Pelagedoila. Why doesn't Mordechai and Esther, why don't they write it the way Adayim is Dav Zayin, the way that Maran Beit Yosef wrote it? That first Mishloach Manos, first matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim, and then Mishloach Manos. Fakir, it gives it a mashmayis that maybe Mishloach Manos is more important than matanis le'Ha'Hivyonim, as I frek the kids of Shulchan Aruch in the Pir Yoin. So that's a teretz. A boy said, "This is Mishloach Manos." This teretz. That's a teretz. So there, Mordechai and Esther wanted a yontif. They didn't have the koyach to make an isser malacha. In Shami speaks about this. They wanted a yontif. What's a yontif by Yid? To make other people happy. That's what yontif is, to make other people, to give a Yid geld so that he should also be a part of the simcha. Oh, but the problem is like this. So that was the ikar yontif. They said this yontif is making other people happy. Someone should tell that to the drunks. When you get drunk, it's for one tachlis, not that you be happy, make other people happy. Don't be a burden, don't be a shter, don't make people have to roll you home. Don't be a burden, give other people simcha. Everybody should have simcha. Make sure you're the one giving other people simcha. Make sure you're besume, make sure good stuff comes out and beauty comes out and ahava comes out. But what makes you happy? Giving money to other people, that's the ikar yontif. No shaila. But Chazal had a problem. Mordechai and Esther had a problem. You're going to go and tell all the Aniyim, today's the day, you come to my house, I give you out $100 bills. Okay, it's beautiful. He's happy, but there's a part inside of him which is not geschmack. I'm the guy who has to stand online. People now know. It's embarrassing. It's not geschmack. Reminds me of a story with Reb Chaim Kreisworth. Reb Chaim Kreisworth, the great Rebbe, Reb Chaim Kreisworth once had a great Sekvir. He came to him and he said to him, look, I lost all my money and nobody knows. I don't have $1. I lost all my money and nobody knows. So he said, well, and I can't, nobody can know. You can't take the busha. Okay. He says, maybe if you can get me from a gvir, something, a loan of like $100,000, it'll put me on my feet. So Chaim Kreisworth, he said, he'll see what he can do. Chaim Kreisworth was the Amud HaChesed of the door. Chaim Kreisworth asked the stipler, he was dying of Yana Machla, what should I do? The stipler told him, it says, Hachnas is kala, in between Bikur Chaylim and Levias Ames. Go be Isaac in Chesed, go be Isaac in Achas Kaler, Chaim Kreiser, Gagalept, Nachat 20 Yor, he lived another 20 years. So he was the Amud of Chesed. So he went to a Greisek Vir and he told him, look, there's a Jew in the community, he doesn't have anything, and he lives still on a high standard and is too embarrassed, and he needs a loan to put him back on his feet, but I can't tell you who he is. So the person told him, look, I can't just lend him money. You got to tell me who it is. I'll give you $50,000 right now. Just tell me who it is. He says, I can't tell you it. He says, I'll give you $80,000. Just tell me who it is. I can't give the money without knowing who it is. He says, look, I'll give you all $100,000. I just want to know. So Chaim Chayzer got up to leave. It's not a guy. It was a Gilui Side. Derech Agav, a shikr is not allowed to be Megala Side either. It's a Gilui Side. I can't tell. He got up to leave and that was it. The next day, this Gvir came to Chaim Chayzer and he closed the door and with tears he said, Rebbe, I'm in the same exact matziv. I also lost all my money and nobody knows. And I was just trying to see if you're somebody that can keep a secret and that nobody's ever going to find out. But Rebbe, please help me also. I have the exact same matziv as you. So you see, Rabbi Isai, that pachad of the maintaining the dignity of the ani. So Chazal, Mordechai and Esther had this great problem. What was the problem? How are we going to maintain the dignity of the ani? He's going to have to stand online. Everybody's going to know who he is. So Mordechai and Esther came up with a gewaldige patent. What was the patent? Something called Mishloach Manos. This guy's giving, this guy's taking. No, this guy, nobody knows. So this guy walks into the house. Is he giving Mishloach Manos? Is he coming for money? And he's also dressed up, don't forget. So the purpose of the Mishloach Manos was to maintain the dignity of the ani, so that nobody should know and nobody should feel his problems. And he doesn't want to, that's why, Avad, if you want to know what's more important, Matanas Lav Yoinim is the Yikr. That's why it comes first in Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch is a Sefer Halacha. But Mishloach Manos Matanos Lav Yoinim. Zok the kids in Shulchan Aruch, that's Pshat in the Pasuk. They dafka need the Mishloach Manos first in order to me'afsher Ayachatimtza that the Matanas Lav Yoinim will be a Mahoder Dik Matanas Lav Yoinim. It's a bezai. That's the Amkis of the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish says this year, you're going to give Matanas Lav Yoinim on Friday. Mishloach Manos on Sunday, you missed the whole point. That the ani is not going to have his dignity maintained. You give it to Zaman. It's a chumrah. It's a good chumrah. You give Mishloach Manos also on Friday, and you give Mishloach Manos of the Ikar din is you're giving it on Sunday. No, Rabbi Isai, what's left? I'll tell you 2 or 3 shilas because I see there's a moments left over here. Someone asked me today. He makes different type of ices with wine and juices and all types of zachin. Is that considered 2 manos? I think so. It's considered 2 manos, 2 drinks. Pashtus is considered 2 manos. That's one shiloh that we got today. Other shilohs that we got in Eretz Yisrael, everybody's going to be giving. It's the one time Rabbi Isai, half of the fella, the whole Klal Yisrael is going to be giving the Maxis Hashek on the same day on Thursday. The whole Klal Yisrael will be all together. Imagine how much achdus there is in the Klal right now. We'll all be doing Kiyum v'Kiblu. We'll all be giving tzedakah on the same day. And b'schus tzedakah, that's what the Geula comes from, the schus tzedakah. The greatest day of tzedakah of the ganze yor is this Friday, the greatest day of tzedakah. Alavai, the Rebbeinu Shalom B'Shefer. We'll see our tzaynis atoivis of Kiyum v'Kiblu, especially us over here that is zeicha to learn through the gewaldige koiches of that good, that we come together in Ma'agid Klal Yisrael v'kiblu, to give tzedakah, to help other people, to make other people happy, to be mekayim the Torah v'ayla zayin takav v'nahapoichu, and we'll be zeicha halavai to Mashiach tzedkenu by Pesach. Rabbi Isai, Yitz Hashem, I already heard from Rabbi Gottesman, he wants me to speak for Pesach. In Yitz Hashem, it's going to be on the Korban Pesach. We'll be talking, you're not going to have to hear from Kallus. We're going to have Rav Moshe Feinstein is going to come back, Rabbi Kiva Eger, all the way back. Rav Ashi is going to give us a shir on the Korban Pesach. Halavai, B'karev, Amen, v'Amen.